I feel like going on.
Take your time.
Though the storm be raging.
Alright, y'all, welcome to another episode of Tit for Tat. So I'm being joined once again by my man Anthony A. Perez, and before I get into the rest of this video, I want to invite you to his channel. After you watch this, I'm going to leave the link down in the description. Anthony A. Perez, he talks about movies like myself. So if you're new to the channel, I'm going to bring you up to speed real quick. Tit for Tat is where we pick movies out for each other that we normally would not watch and review it on each other's channel. So right now, we're reviewing The 5 Heartbeats, and he's joining me on my channel. And then on his channel, I'm reviewing Fury Road. That's the movie that he assigned to me, so I'm going to leave that link in the description. Once again, Anthony A. Perez, check him out. And we're going to get to his thoughts on this movie in a second. So here we go, y'all. The 5 Heartbeats. This is a classic. I love this movie. I can't praise it enough. But it's funny, when I first watched it, well, before I first watched it, I had no interest in even watching this movie, to be honest with you. I used to go to Blockbuster, and I would always see it in the new release section, but I looked past it because it looks like another singing group movie that I just had no interest in at the time. I was 11 years old, going on 12, and my interest was action movies, blood and guts, horror, Jason, Michael Myers, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger killing aliens and shit. The 5 Heartbeats was the last thing that I wanted to watch, but my mom's boyfriend at the time, piece of shit that he was, I hated that motherfucker. If I see him to this day, I want a piece of him. He brought the movie home, and we used to have little family movie night or whatever. Fuck that nigga. But anyways, he popped it in, hit play, and I'm sitting there like, oh boy, here we go. I thought I was gonna hate this movie. And from the opening musical number, when the 5 Heartbeats first got on stage, and they sung, I Got Nothing But Love For You, baby, I was hooked. All right, from the moment, I got nothing but love for you, baby. I can't sing, I don't give a damn. Whew. I was like, whoa. It hooked me, it reeled me in, and I was invested ever since. This is a typical story about a singing group, the rise and fall of a singing group, rise and fall, and then the resurrection. You know what I'm saying? So this is something that we've seen in other movies, like first thing comes to mind is Sparkle, The Temptations, What's Love Got to Do With It? You know what I'm saying? We've seen this so many times, but what makes this movie special is the heart and soul that Robert Townsend gives this movie. The breath that he breathes into this movie is just, you can see his passion all over this project, from the writing, the acting, the musical numbers, the dance sequences. Everything about this movie is just, you can tell that Robert Townsend was in the zone. He really wanted to make this work. This is a passion project of his, and it shows. The brotherhood between these 5 guys, between Duck, JT, Dresser, Choir Boy, and Eddie Kane Jr., you know what I'm saying? You cannot deny that their chemistry, their camaraderie, and that's what makes the movie work, and also with some awesome-ass music. And a lot of this music was sung by a group called the Dells. So, of course, not to take away from the illusion, but the actors are not really singing. I probably knew that already, but they were voiced by the Dells. And if you never heard of the Dells, after this video, I want you to go on YouTube. Well, you're already on YouTube, but I want you to look up the Dells and listen to their music. I think they're a very underrated R&B group that don't get enough praise. Yeah, you got to check those guys out. So they did a majority of the music in this movie. And actually, this film is actually based off of the Dells, loosely based off of the Dells. So Robert Townsend, what he had in mind was the Temptations. All right, he wanted to do a Temptations biopic, and for whatever reason, that didn't work out. So he took some of the Temptations story, but then I'd say 80% of the Dells. You know what I mean? So it's their story. But right off the bat, the standouts in this movie is Michael Wright as Eddie Kane Jr., the lead singer of the group, the most troubled person in the group. All right, I think he's got the most charisma. He had the most controversy, you know what I'm saying, behind the character, the stuff that he went through, you know, the drugs and everything, and, you know, carrying the group as a lead singer, and his arc is like so heartbreaking, but yet so triumphant at the same time, because the arc that he has by the end of the movie, I'm like in tears crying, you know what I mean? Like, this movie makes me fucking cry. I don't give a damn, y'all. And of course, Robert Townsend is Duck. You know, Duck is the heart of the movie. The character of Duck. He's the glue that holds the group together. You know what I mean? And I mean, everybody shined in here. You know, JT Leon is JT, the smooth ladies man. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing that Leon didn't have a career like Denzel, because Leon was like, you know, this dude was like a modern day Billy D. Williams at the time. You know, I mean, he had a good career, but I feel like he was so suave and smooth, man. He just had that presence about him, man. I felt he could have had a better career than what he did. And of course, I can't forget the main standout is Hawthorne James, I think his name is Big Red. Yeah, Big Red was a scary motherfucker. Big Red was Suge Knight before Suge Knight, man. This guy was he was something else, man. He was an old country boy that ran a record label. And if you crossed Big Red, if you pushed him about your royalties and how he keeps his books, he will stomp your ass out and remind you that my office hours are from 9 to 5. Love Big Red. Everybody in this movie shine, man. The late Diane Carroll is in this. Rest in peace. You know, she was in this movie. And there's just so much to love about this film. But before I get to my final thoughts on this movie, I'm going to give the floor to Anthony A. Perez. So, Perez, the floor is yours. What do you think about the 5 heartbeats?
Rashad and all his viewers, once again, my friend, thank you so much for having me in another video. And this time around, you wanted me to check out a movie called The 5 Heartbeats. And when you sent me this as the next pick, you told me to be careful with what I said, because you had a lot of love for this movie. You also followed that up by telling me that it was by the same director from Up, Up, and Away, which was from one of our early collabs that we did on my channel, a cheesy, made-for-TV Disney Channel original movie, directed by and starring Robert Townsend. So this film is directed by Robert Townsend as well. And yeah, man, what I can say right out of the gate is I didn't love this movie, probably not as much as you do, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. I found it to be a good time. And I'm a sucker for the movies about a group, a music artist, a band trying to make it, and the ups and downs that happen in that kind of story. So right out of the gate, what I will say is that my favorite portion of the film was the beginning portion. These characters kind of like having this joy and passion and excitement behind their music and the ability to make it and kind of, you know, be able to live their dreams. And of course, with like a lot of stories like this, I don't know if the 5 Heartbeats were like a real story or not or anything like that, but of course, like a lot of stories like this, over the course of the movie, you know, there's going to be ups and downs and heartbreaks and characters that hate each other and all that jazz. And so this movie definitely falls in line with a lot of those stereotypical tropes of this kind of film. But that's not at all a negative of the film. I did thoroughly enjoy the characters and the overall journey that they go through in this movie. I felt like there was a couple things in the movie that made the movie feel a little bit bloated at times. I feel like it's a little over 2 hours, like 2 hours and a minute if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like this movie could have been cut down just a little bit. But I think my biggest issue with this movie at times was that there were times where there was just side characters that would be brought in for certain portions of the story or something to kind of propel our main characters in a different direction. And I feel like sometimes it just kind of felt forced, and I didn't really care for a lot of these side characters, especially some of the love interest of our main characters that are part of the 5 Heartbeats. I never really found myself attached to them because they were hardly on screen, and when they came into the situation, it just kind of felt like, oh, they're only here to kind of bring some sort of turmoil, some sort of issue, so that our main characters, like I said, are propelled in a different direction in the narrative. So again, I don't know if this is based on a true story. Literally just finished watching it, stood up, turned the camera on, and decided to start talking about it. And yeah, I enjoyed the film. Overall, I thought it was a well-acted film. There are some cheesy elements, but I think the movie is totally self-aware when it is cheesy. It has a certain tone. It almost kind of exists in like a little bit of a heightened reality, a little bit of an extra cheesy world, but it does touch on some real things and some real issues, and it does have some really real moments in the story. I think, again, what really didn't work for me in this movie were a lot of the side characters that sometimes brought really important elements to the story. And the biggest example I can give of that is like the character of Tanya, who is Robert Townsend's character's like love interest, and it's like a huge thing at the end of the movie as far as him and his brother kind of having a falling out because of something that's going on there. And yeah, I just kind of felt like that was kind of just shoehorned in there because we had Tanya's character set up throughout the course of the film, but it really isn't until the later half of the film that she shows up and actually becomes a love interest. At the beginning part, she's just kind of a chick that we know he has the eyes for, and that he's kind of like sending her like poetry, and that, you know, it's not really working out. She literally tells him at one point to like not come by again to her house, and then by the latter half of the film, that's where they start to have some sort of romance, and it just kind of felt like it was a little bit rushed at times, and that's kind of how I felt about a lot of the side characters and any story that had to do with the main characters and those side characters. Not all of them. There's plenty of the side characters that I think definitely made for compelling narratives. I really enjoyed the manager character, and one of my favorite moments in the movie was when the sergeant, as I think what they call him, the guy who they bring in to do the new choreography, when he is kind of doing a little choreography battle at the first time that they meet the group. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I found it to be a good time. I thought it was funny, and I enjoyed the character of the sergeant. So there were a handful of the side characters that I did thoroughly enjoy, but I felt like the most important ones that brought, you know, a lot of turmoil and a lot of the heartache for the characters in the movie, I feel like them kind of being brought into the story sometimes just felt a little bit rushed, and I felt like I didn't care too much about what was happening, even though I enjoyed the characters. So on an overall level, I didn't love this movie, but I had a good time with it. I appreciate you putting me on to a new movie that I've never seen before. I really enjoyed Robert Townsend in this film, and I think everybody for the most part gave a solid performance with a, you know, a little bit of a drizzling of cheese in there at times. But yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing what you have next for me, my friend. A big thanks again for having me in this video. Everybody who's watching this, give Rashad a like on this video and subscribe to his channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Okay, all right, listen in. I'm not surprised. To be honest with you, I thought you was going to shit on this movie. I was like, damn, you know, this movie might not be for him. Because if I can keep it real, this is a black film, okay? This is a black film that most black people love. I can't say all, because you do have a certain group of black people that don't like anything black. I think they forget that they're black, and I don't, you know, well, if you watch my channel, you know who I'm talking about. But this is a very beloved film in the black community. And that's not to say that other races can't enjoy this film, but it's ours, you know what I mean? And I don't think a lot of people gave this movie a chance. I think this is a very underrated movie that unless you come from that time, you won't really know about it. And it's sad because it's a really special and great film. And even Siskel and Ebert, well, let me take that back. Roger Ebert really didn't too much care for it. Actually, no, take it back. I think Roger Ebert really liked it. Gene Siskel didn't care for it. I think Gene Siskel thought that Sparkle was a better movie. And I'm like, do we watch the same movie? I love Sparkle, but nah, Sparkle ain't as good as the Five Heartbeats, man. I'm gonna have to review that one too, but yeah, I think Gene dropped the ball on that one. This is a movie that doesn't get a lot of recognition, so when I first assigned this to Perez, I was like, I hope you don't shit on it too bad. But surprisingly, bro, I'm glad you enjoyed it. The fact that you don't love it, I understand, I get it. You know, I don't even want to call this an acquired taste. I just feel like, you know, if you're from that era when this movie was made, even if you're from the era where this movie was based off of, you know, in the 60s and 70s, I think you'll really enjoy this film. So I get it, you know, so I totally get it. And I'm glad that you did like it. And I know you mentioned about some side characters that were introduced that really served no purpose and they didn't need to be there. Now, I'm assuming you're talking about Bird of the Midnight Falcons. Bird was the one that Big Red had hanging out the window. I assume you're talking about him. So that whole purpose was just to be a rival for the Five Heartbeats, because both of them were fighting for Big Red's affection, and Big Red chose the Heartbeats and forgot about them, put them in the back. But his character was necessary because you saw how ruthless and crazy Big Red was to make an example out of him. So you knew that you were scared for the Heartbeats after he did what he did to Bird. Similar to how Thanos fucked up the Hulk in Infinity War, and you knew the Avengers was in trouble because he beat the shit out the Hulk. Which still breaks my heart. Man, fuck the Russo brothers. I'm assuming another character you were talking about was Flash. He's the guy that ended up taking over the lead singing spot after Eddie, you know, got into drugs and fell off. And he really had no character. You saw him in the beginning. You saw him a little bit throughout the movie, like backstage and stuff, but then eventually he ended up taking over the lead singing spot. So I'm assuming you're talking about them. And of course, Tanya, who was the love interest of Duck, who is kind of so early, but then you didn't see again until they became successful. Gold digger. Yeah, you didn't see her until much later than the whole love triangle between Doug, JT, and Tanya. Which is a scene that makes me laugh, by the way. Every time I watch that scene where JT is confronting Tanya about marrying Duck, and I guess you can call it kind of overacting, because he was like, yeah, you're talking about marrying my brother. I can't let you do that, baby. You hear me? I can't let you marry my brother. Why? Because you don't love him. That's why. I know. I've been with you. You love me, baby. JT was a cool motherfucker, man. But JT was like Keith Sweat, but that nigga begged like a motherfucker. I gotta say the cherry on top with this movie was, okay, this is spoilers, y'all. So, yeah, I'm gonna spoil the shit out of this. The cherry on top for me with this movie was at the end where Eddie turned his life around. You know, he became a crackhead. He left the group. There was even a part where you thought he died, you know what I mean? And then when you saw him at church and he was singing, I Feel Like Going On. No matter how many times I watch that, drunk or sober, especially drunk, I will cry. My daughter makes fun of me. My daughter says I'm sensitive. I'm sensitive. I don't care. So what? Men cry. You know, shit, Purple Rain. Doves cry. We all cry. Everybody cries. This movie made me cry. I don't care. Yes. So when he sung I Feel Like Going On, that fucked me up. I don't care. So anyways, y'all, this was a great film. I love this movie to death. If you haven't watched it, watch it. If you haven't seen it for a long time, revisit it. If you haven't heard of the Dells, check them out. YouTube, The Dells. And then just go down a rabbit hole of some classic R&B. All right? Everybody knows the Temptations. I'm talking about look up the Dells. Give them their respect. And the Delphonics, all right? My pops put me on both of them. My pops put me on the Dells, the Delphonics, and the Shy-Lights. I listen to them all the time. My daughter calls me an old man because I listen to that stuff, and I am an old man, but fuck it. You know, it is what it is. Anyways, y'all, the 5 Heartbeats gets an A+++++++. Love this fucking movie, man. Perez, thank you for being in this video once again. Looking forward to our next tit for tat. I think next you have for me, what's the next movie you got for me? I gotta go back and check my messages. I forgot just that quick. But yeah, looking forward to our next collaboration, bro. Once again, subscribe to Anthony A. Perez. The link is in the description. Thank you all for watching. If you like and did the content, like and subscribe, notification bell in the corner. This is Rashad G signing out. See you in the next video.